So today, guys, this podcast is an interview that's been a long time in coming, getting another one. It's only the third interview I've done with yoga teachers. But I want to introduce you today to Serena Taylor, who actually contacted me. And you got me back on the bike, Serena. You did, in terms of coming back and interviewing really interesting yoga teachers. And I'll tell you a little bit about Serena, and then I'm going to hand over to Serena for a lot of this. But Serena runs a studio near the Welsh borders called Serenity in Knighton. And her journey to that studio, I think, the only word I can think of describing it has been extraordinary. There's been an awful long journey from teaching, from law, from working in theatre, from globe-trotting to devastating illness, and then recovery, and then finding yoga. Serena's published a book. What's it called, Serena?
That's called the Serenity Reset.
The Serenity Reset,
yeah,
that's right. And I'll put it in the notes, the information about a lovely retreat that Serena's got coming up shortly, information about her book as well. But from that really quite devastating illness and recovery, finding yoga, now published a book, setting up a studio. All I can say is that my first conversation with this lady, it made me think, what a powerhouse, what an amazing powerhouse and inspiration, and a perfect illustration of what I have always believed. And some of the key things that I try and talk about a lot in my training podcasts, in the Pathway to Profit program, that a key part of this is about both having the drive, but having that authenticity, finding that authenticity and the thing that really gets you going and gets you excited, and finding that authentic voice. And I know that by the time you've listened to this, I'm sure you'll be inspired too, because Serena's a really good example of just what I think authentic teaching is all about. And there's quite a few, I think, hopefully, messages that will come through over the course of this session about how to build a mindful yoga business that really fits you and your lifestyle and your personality. So I'm going to let Serena do most of the talking. So Serena, I'm going to start with, just tell us a little bit about your journey. Tell us where it started. Tell us a little bit about your background in law and so on, and how you eventually started to find your way towards yoga.
I was working, I want to say I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar, but always that runs in the back of your mind, doesn't it, when you start with those words?
It does.
But I was working in law in London for Female International Bank and doing international give-up agreements between banks. It was quite dry, as you can imagine. So I'd finished law school, I was working in there, and the tsunami hit. And I went out to Thailand to help with I had a friend out there who had unfortunately died, and his brother was still out there. And I just felt compelled to go out and help. So I went out with an NGO, actually, a non-government organization, and was in an orphanage, ended up in an orphanage where in the very northwest corner near Burma, near Myanmar. And I was out there for over a year, teaching children English and just looking after them, really. But what I found was that there was a lot of yoga going on it was held by a neo-humanist organization. And the neo-humanist organization the two ladies that were running it, they call them DDs, which means sisters, would do yoga with the children every day and meditate. And the happiness level in that orphanage was off the chart. The children were so happy, bearing in mind what's just happened in the world, and they were really happy. And I went out there, and my friend's brother was still out there and ended up staying out there and starting a charity called the Piers Simon Appeal, actually. So if you want to look that up, because it's about getting children back into school and stuff, it's really good. But this sort of opened my eyes to what yoga really could do. Because until then, I've always been a gym bunny, and I'd been to the gym. Attended a few gym yoga classes. I did go to, and I'd noticed how the older ladies were more nimble than I was, which was pretty incredible to me, because I played netball to quite a high standard, and I thought, that's amazing. So the thing is, after Thailand, I did end up in Australia playing ball, and actually the coach was big on what was called prehab. And I noticed that basically it was yoga, and we didn't get injured. Like, the people on our team did not get injured as much as other teams. But I did come back to the UK eventually, and I became a school teacher, like you were a school teacher too.
I
So
was.
yeah, so teaching is in my blood, I think. I have quite a few family members in teaching as well. And it is a beautiful career, but as most people will tell you, it leads to burnout.
Absolutely.
After 20 years of teaching and a lot of pressure to be everywhere and everything to everyone, it became a little too much. Plus, I was a foster carer. Just in case there wasn't enough going on, I'm also a foster carer. Make sure that I'm completely
So how many
everywhere.
children were you fostering?
So I fostered 22 now, all in all. And we are currently, we're hopefully going to welcome another couple of little boys to us soon. But that all depends. These things change, and at the last minute often.
Yeah.
So we will see. So that's my journey up to leaving work. So I needed to leave work through burnout. And I love yoga from my Thailand days. And I knew how it could restore children and regulate children. And I've always, throughout my whole teaching career, taught yoga in school. So I've used breath work, I've used meditation, mindfulness, and I have used the movement in after school clubs, but also before lessons sometimes to regulate children. And so I used it to regulate myself. I did a lot of studying, because that's what lawyers do and teachers do. We're very good at researching.
Yes.
And bearing in mind with burnout, lots and lots of hospital appointments and scans gave me a prognosis of fibromyalgia, which is actually a very good
And how
prognosis
old were
to
you
have.
then, Serena?
48. I think that's very good prognosis. So people that have burnt out with fibromyalgia, remember, you don't have, I was tested for MS and things like that. Actually, it's as much as it is I can't even say the word. As much as it does, it'll put you on your back. You don't have any real physical issue that's going to shorten your life. So you've
And
got
you
to be
were really
ready.
I remember in our first discussion, you were really quite ill with it, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in hospital for a couple of weeks. My kidneys had given up, and which is a physical problem. But when I came out, I just couldn't get well. And I'd been under a lot of pressure at work, and I'd been a lot of pressure. Then my dad died, and that is like the grief on top of everything else, pressure of just being a teacher for nothing else. But there was a lot going on at that time, so that my body just decided to go into protection mode. So what happens with fibromyalgia, what happens with burnout, is your nervous system gets so sensitized that your body becomes very fatigued and your body becomes very sensitive to pain. Everything hurts. So a lot of people will end up in bed for months at a time, very hard to get out of bed, very hard to move around. Getting showered wears them out. They have to get a shower, you're back in bed again, they have to sleep off that energy exertion. So what's happening
And
there?
that will actually only, sorry to interrupt, but actually that lack of movement is also going to exacerbate and bring about a new problem as well.
Yes.
Which is the stiffness and the muscles and
Yes.
everything. It almost compounds it, doesn't it?
Yes. And then it brings on mental issues such as depression because of that. It's not, it brings on those sort of things because of that lack of movement and the lack of hope, because doctors are they tell you there's no cure, and that there is no cure in the fact that they can't give you a tablet. But there is definitely a cure, which is why I had to write the book, The Serenity Reset, because I went from being pushed around the hospital in a wheelchair and not being able to move around at home and my husband having to dress me, to doing an advanced vinyasa 500 hour out as in handstands and pincher. So I went from 0 to 100 literally in my health. And I had that in my mind. I'm going to do the vinyasa 500 when I'm done. So when I'm well. And I had that as a goal, and which I achieved in February 2025. So a year and a half ago, long ago, actually.
And how long after? So how many months or years was that after you fell ill with the fibromyalgia? You found out you'd got fibromyalgia.
Right. So I get on there about a year and a half after my diagnosis. So you
Right.
can heal pretty quickly if you want to. It depends on your consistency and your patience, really. Because if you push too hard, you put yourself back. But if you do nothing at all and you're not consistent, then again, you're not going to make progress. So
I think there's an analogy here with learning yoga and practicing yoga as well, isn't there?
There is. And starting a new business as well.
Yes.
Consistency creates success.
Yes.
Which is...
And patience. And so for those of you who are listening, there is a business lesson in here too. There is an analogy to draw between building a business and actually practicing yoga and having your own practice, because you need that consistency in order to be able to do balances. You're not going to be able to do a challenging balance straight away. It needs patience. It needs time. It needs consistency. It needs building some strong foundations in order to get the stronger balances and so on. Very much the same, isn't it?
And an understanding of the mechanics.
Yes.
Once you understand the mechanics of a hand balance,
yes,
or an inversion, you also,
Yes.
and it's the same with business. Once you understand the mechanics, you can build upon it, and you make everything so much easier. When you stack your bones in the correct spaces, they sit on top of each other beautifully. And it's the same with business. When you need to stack the correct things in order, but you need to know that order. And you can do that. You can do that by trial and error, or you can get a good coach. There you go.
But you know what? Actually, it's one of the things that one of the metaphors that I use in terms of building a business is I talk about it almost having two engines. That there's the first engine, which is what I call the cash growth engine. And that bit, which is getting the stable foundations, getting the mechanics right, getting that piece, which is understanding some of the key things in the right order that you need to do, having your niche, getting some basic systems in place, understanding how to put together an offer and write copy, some key basic things that will start to bring income in, because once you've got the cash growth and you've got the sustainability, then you can actually move to engine 2, which is growth and scale that. But at least you're scaling something that works.
Yeah.
And
if one person wants it, it's very discouraging. When you first start something, you might get one person, maybe two people. But the thing is, where there's one person, there are 100 people. There are everyone likes to think they are unique, and we are unique in one way, but in another way, we all are very similar. And when you build a business, I built it on what I knew and my experiences.
And on your passion as well.
Yeah.
Because coming back to the book, you wrote the book. Were you teaching at the time when you wrote the book?
No. I'd given up work because I was ill. I was ill for a year from work, and I couldn't go back. And then there was no way I could go back to full-time teaching.
But teaching yoga, were you doing any, or were you just...
teaching yoga. Yes. With teaching, it's confusing, isn't it? School teaching yoga.
Yeah.
Yoga I was teaching at schools. And then when I had fibromyalgia, I was using yin yoga to heal myself and yoga nidra. And I did quite a few trainings in yoga nidra and yin yoga. And I found a really good yoga school, actually. Becky from Shanti Atma Yoga, she's in Brighton. She taught me the yin yoga, and her methodology is just superb. It's a Michelin star. And I found that using that methodology, and then of course you add your own flavors, and it just made because nobody's nervous system is the same as the next person's. So feel free to ad lib to what your body wants. And that's the beautiful yoga teaches you how to listen to your body, and you know what your body needs. And with that, like extra perception, this sort of spider senses that we have as yoga practitioners, you are able to heal yourself so much easier than a regular person who is so disconnected from their body and can't feel the difference really of the little motions that they're doing. So yin yoga took me into this space where my nervous system was able to soften and feel safe. And fibromyalgia and burnout is where just generally speaking, it's because you've done too much and your nervous system is protecting you. And it's saying you have done too much and you've scared it. It's like a little child within you. You've scared it into hiding or the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And you've scared it into this place where it needs to be nurtured and it needs to feel safety. It needs that felt safety. And there is no way you can talk it round. Just if you had a child and you're trying to get them to do something they're scared of, you're not talking it round. It's not going to happen. But you can show them, make them feel safe, and then coax them out by that felt safety. And it's the same with the nervous system. But because each of our journeys to burnout, to fibromyalgia is so unique to us, the journey back is also unique. So there's different things that can cause you to feel unsafe that another person would feel fine about. Yeah. So it is very individual. Yeah. So the book is lots of chapters, but there's certain things that we need, and we all need to give our bodies the correct nutrition to make our bodies physiologically feel safe. We need, because if you're malnourished, because you don't have the right vitamins and whatnot, and you're fighting off, heavy metals and various other from
toxins,
your body's not even it's not got a fighting chance, is it? So you've got your nutrition, you've got to come from the nutrition angle, but it's really not the be all and end all. But I have written another book called The Serenity Kitchen, which is about to come out, I've only got one chapter on nutrition in my book, and it could be expanded. So I have done that, and I've given eating plans for omnivores and also for plant-based people. But and that's going to be coming out soon. Just it's the time to go through and just edit. It's writing a book is not the hard part. It's the editing. If you know your stuff and you're passionate, writing it is fine. And then it's the being too perfect, editing it and trying to get it just right because other people are going to read it is the tricky bit. Yes. So you must nurture your body by nourishment, then by your breath. So the very first thing you do
and that was another thing that you studied, wasn't it? So those of you who are listening, just pay attention to the different areas that Serena has ended up, because of her own journey, literally looking at. Let's learn a bit more. Tell us a bit about the breath work then, because that became a key part, and I know you've done some training in breath work too, haven't you?
So using breath work at school with children that are hyperactive when they come in after lunch has always been a massively beneficial regulating tool. And I have been into schools and done breathwork with children since. That's one of the first things I did, because coming from a teaching background, that seemed the most obvious thing to do. So I have done that with yoga and teaching teachers themselves how to regulate, because a lot of my clients are suffering teachers, NHS, or bless you nurses out. I have a lot of nurses, teachers, head teachers that are burnt out and just at the end of their wit, really. And breath work is the one thing that really calms the autonomic nervous system immediately. It's our foot weight in. You can't, if I asked you to slow your heart rate right now, you'd be like, what? Or can you just make your lungs do, or your kidneys do? How do you think I'm going to do that? Because they run on an automatic sort of system. And your breath is the same. You're not thinking about your breath. right now. And yet all of us are breathing. And now we're all thinking about it because I've mentioned it. But we're not thinking about it. So we breathe. But we can take it over. We have the control to take over from the self-pilot, what you call it when you go on a plane and you've got autopilot. You can take autopilot off and take control of that system. And by doing that, you're also, the knock-on effect, taking control of things like your heart rate, your blood pressure.
I often say that the breath is the quickest way to change your state.
Yeah, and it is. It's been proved in so many studies, which you will see from my book, but it's been proved in so many studies to work better than any medication. So breathwork is the doorway in. And because I was so ill, I started with online courses, which was great because obviously a lot of the time with fibromyalgia or burnout, you can't open your eyes. So you need to listen to things. And even then it becomes a bit much as drift in, drift out. So you have to listen to everything quite a lot. But the practice, that learning all the science behind it, really gave me that feeling of safety because my brain was like, yeah, that's true. That's based in science. That works for me. And as I taught maths, English, science for 20 years at a private school, and I was law-based before, I'm quite factual.
Yes.
And knowing that for me gave my brain the safety it needed to understand that I could do this and make my body feel amazing. I just was able to slowly do more. And that's the key, slowly do more. And the key, consistently doing my breath work every day. Stig Stevenson, he is a Dutch guy, and he won the world record in breath holding 4 times.
Wow.
And he is a deep sea diver. He holds the record, 22 minutes he can hold his breath for. But but when I'm feeling better now, so he is my current go-to person. So I'm trained with him, and I've gone out to see Wim Hof. I'm actually going out to see him not next weekend, the weekend after. Actually, he's in Greece near Athens to see Wim Hof again. So I do love breath work, and it is the quickest and easiest way to calm a nervous system and just to nourish it and to oxygenate your body. And again, that oxygenation to really feed your muscles at a cellular level, to feed your brain. It gives your body that sense of safety. And the pranayama that I learn I'm sure some of the guys listening will have trained at Sampoorna. It's quite a popular yoga school in Goa. And Vishnu, they may have even had Vishnu as their breathwork teacher. But learning pranayama out in Goa and learning it on top of the more sort of Western scientific-led breathwork, and then the pranayama I did back in Thailand, it all comes together to make a lot of sense, not only scientifically but spiritually.
Yeah.
So at this point, combination.
At this point, were you actually teaching? Were you just was all this learning happening while you were recovering? Were you actually teaching yoga?
Yeah,
you hadn't set the studio up at this point, had you?
I set the studio up so what happened was I was very ill for a year, and then I had bought, it's about stepping into opportunity. This is what I'm going to say now. You must step into opportunity, but sitting in bed doesn't usually give you opportunities. I was very lucky in that lying in bed gave me an opportunity because I had bought a house in the high street because I needed a larger house for my foster children to live in, because I have 6, so I needed a big house. I've actually got.
I love the fact that, and I'm sure the listeners who are watching as well will also love the fact that Roman, your son, is there too. And it's just, do you know what else I love about this, Serena? It's one of the things I talk about is it's about building a balanced business. It's about creating and shaping a business built around your interest, your passion, but your lifestyle and your other commitments as well. And we can all see.
That's the point, isn't it?
We can all see
prioritize.
Building it round. Yes, you're building it round your son as well, because you came to motherhood quite late too, didn't you?
Yes. So, ladies, yoga keeps you young. It keeps you very young. It keeps you very healthy. So, doing all my 45 when I had Roman, And he is now almost, he's just turned 6.
Yeah.
Big boy, 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 51. Born early
So
70s.
coming back to the studio, so you'd pulled yourself, you'd done all this amazing learning while you were still really ill
And I was healing myself.
and healing yourself.
Yeah. And then my house I bought it in the high street. It's a big building, but it has a shop on the front. And the shop was an antique shop. And the guy, unfortunately, bless his heart, he died and he didn't have anyone to hand it to. And nobody had taken it over. So I owned the building. He just had the a leasehold on the shop.
On the
I
shop.
owned the actual building. I thought, I know, I love this journey that I'm on. I'm going to share it. So I offered them some money for the leasehold, what was remaining. There was 40 years, I think, left on the leasehold. And so it wasn't particularly expensive, but I did buy that with my savings. And then bit by bit, with some local people, local handyman, and I made it into a yoga studio. So put a door in between the studio and my hallway so that I don't actually have to go out of the house, and accumulated back into one. So as it always had been in the past. But yeah, so I now had a yoga studio. So
At this point, did you have any audience at all?
no. No. What I did have was passion and a self-belief that it would just be fine, because I can't work anyway. I'm like, I can't really work. This will bring, I have to do yoga every day. So we start with yoga, start with restorative yin yoga. And because that's what I can do. And I can help people in the same sort of position as me. And I attracted just people from just living in the area and people knowing and liking me. I had a few people, had one lady start, her name was Hannah, she's a librarian, and she started with me. And then it wasn't finished downstairs, so she was in my living room with me, and the two of us would do yoga together. And then she told people, and I put it out on the local Facebook groups, and one turned into 2, and then the yoga studio was finished, turned into 4, 5, 6. And before I knew it, I had every Wednesday, I had a good group of ladies coming. It was Hannah the reason it started I've got a class at 8:30 on a Wednesday is because she looked after her grandchild, and then that would go back, and then she'd do tea, and then that's the time she could do. But that's the time that's always stuck. So I have a 8:30 time. And also I would put my little boy to bed about 7:30, 8 o'clock. So if she came around 8:30, he'd be asleep by then.
Yeah.
So it was just around Roman, around helping someone else and to help myself, because by helping her, it made me do it as well. So the two of us were healing and getting better. And like I said, then the studio came about, and I had the flooring. I have these rubber mats, and I have lovely yoga mats, like cork mats. I spent all my savings on this, but I did, and it's just lovely. I just love it. And it's my beautiful place it's just such a sanctuary.
Help me a little bit. I'll tell you one of the things that I find that comes up a lot with teachers that I mentor. There's a reluctance to invest anything financially. How did you overcome or cope with that mindset of, I know there's been a couple of times when we've heard you say, I spent my savings on that. Tell us a little bit about your kind of thinking there.
I love what I do. And what better to spend my money on? Plus, if I don't go all in and I'm half on the fence, my subconscious is always going to be half on the fence. You have to really, if you're in, you have to go in and you have to make it work.
And that's really interesting. That's really interesting. But just one quick interjection there, because to anybody who's listening, there is a podcast about sitting on the fence and how uncomfortable that is.
Yeah, gives you a wedgie.
Yeah.
So you have
It's a goddamned uncomfortable place to be.
If you do it, you will succeed.
The thing is, there may be teachers that are listening to this and I've seen this, I've heard this over and over again, where teachers, they're creating blocks for students, a block of 5 or a block of 10, and they're using a paper-based system because they are afraid of investing in a proper
Yeah.
booking system that will take payments, that will do the thinking for you. And I just think that sometimes you have to bite the bullet, and that's what you've done. You've had that mindset that just says, I really love doing this. I'm going to be all in, and I'm going to be consistent.
You don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
What have you
Well,
got to lose?
there's what I call the opportunity cost. There's an opportunity cost, isn't there, with everything? And that opportunity cost is opportunity cost is basically if you spend money on this, you might be stopping yourself from spending money on something else. Or if you choose to go down this route, that means that might be the opportunity. If you choose not to take a booking system, that there's an opportunity cost of that, which means that you end up with loads of bits of paper and people getting the wrong number that they're owed and so on. There's always an opportunity cost, whatever decision you make. And it sounds as though you've worked that out in your head,
I
that
think
actually, do
if
you
you're
know what?
having
I've got
trouble,
nothing to lose here. The
I don't.
opportunity cost is not great to me.
I think it's important, first of all, that people look at their money mindset and have a look at what money, because if money is meant to be spent, okay, money is meant to flow, comes in and
All
out.
of energy.
Stagnancy, it is. And stagnancy is not going to do you any favors with it. If it
Yeah.
sits in the bank account, the rate of interest it gets now is actually way below the inflation rate of life. So it's actually losing money.
Yeah.
All the time it's in your bank account, you're getting poorer. And money spent is money that will make you money. Money makes money. And if you have it, it's different if you don't. And I can see that. But if you do have money to spend and you're going to do something you have a passion for, like this, whatever else you were going to spend it on, you won't have time for anyway, number one. But number two, what better than to leave some sort of legacy, to make a mark on
Yeah.
the world and to help other people in a really tangible way and have something solid that you can have and say, I built, that's mine.
Yeah.
When you're
And
saying
there's
that,
something about putting the other piece for me, and one of the other podcasts that was part of a series that I did about this dithering and sitting on the fence and so on, and I called it having skin in the game. And that's what you've done, because once you invest, it almost forces you into committing
yeah.
and to
So
making that,
yeah,
and to taking those actions, because you think, do you know what, I put
yeah,
money into this now, so I've got to make
yeah.
this work.
So I know you've done NLP, haven't you? Neuro
Yes.
linguistic programming. So
Yeah.
I also am a master's of
Yeah.
NLP. And there's something in the brain, for everyone that doesn't know, called the RAS system, the reticular articulating system. And this is looking for opportunities all the time. Now, if you have gone full in and you absolutely are going to do this, your brain will look for opportunities,
Yeah.
and those opportunities will come to the forefront for you. They would have been there anyway, but you wouldn't have noticed them. But because you've gone full in, you will notice those opportunities. You will take those opportunities and things will go well for you. If you're half on the fence, your subconscious is looking for a way out and will not see those opportunities, and you will be blinded into failing. And there is no need for it. Everything you've ever put your mind to, you have done. Let's have a think about this. Those of us that went to school, we all got through it. We all came out. We all did it. If you wanted GCSE, even if you failed in the first time, if you wanted GCSEs, you went to college and you got them. Those of us that went to college, we did that. We got our qualifications. Those of us that went to university, we did it. And if you didn't do it, it's because you didn't really want it, right? You did it. And then what else did you want in life? You wanted that job, you got it. You wanted that husband, you got him. You wanted a child, you got that child. Everything you really wanted, not half-assedly wanted, like you really wanted in life, if you look back, you have done it. So what's different now? If you really want it, you will achieve it. Your brain won't let you fail if you really want it. And if you have good guidance from people that have been there before, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And I know it's scary because our nervous system doesn't like.
That's gonna.
I am an expert on the nervous system. Wrote a book on it, right? I wrote a book, The Serenity Reset, on our nervous system. I've done years and years of research.
That piece right there, Serena, is going to become a short, I think, that I replay to people to hear over and over again. Because I hope, guys, anybody who's listening to this, I hope you really take notice of what Serena was saying there, because it is so absolutely true. And that's why, coming back to your story, so, you go, there's no doubt, and I'm sure the listeners can tell, you went all in. You just think, I'm going to make this studio. And the other thing that I want the people who are listening to notice is that you started small, 1 or 2 people.
In my living
in a living room, but it begins to grow. And that seed and that reticular activating system that's out there and that's looking for the other opportunities and thinking, oh, how can I branch into this? Because you've actually then taken that, and tell us a little bit about how now you then developed then from that and just that small cohort to what you've now built today. What does your business now look like?
Slowly, you put your adverts out, people come. You can't be too worried about how many people come at
How
first.
did you advertise? Tell us how you advertised.
Oh, there is a wonderful. First of all, you go on, it's all your Facebook groups. Go into your Facebook groups, all your local ones, find every single one. Also, then find people. So, for example, and market it differently to different people. So put it in the golfing thing about, and just show them, tell them how yoga can help the golf swing.
Yes.
Go send it to the riding groups, the horsey groups, how it can help their horse riding, how it can help their grip, their posture, their seat. Go into the netball groups, the cricket groups, and just tailor it for each one. Go into the mums groups, tell them how it can help with their pelvic floor and lift, then help their core muscles and posture, because that's what hurts with mums. They don't need a special mums class. What they need is to be told that it will help their specific problems and for them to feel heard. They want it. You have to market it differently for the different groups. Then you also, so when they do come, you're doing the same thing, because, what's good to hold a seat, that lower back strength on a horse seat and that inner thigh grip is going to work brilliantly for a golfer who needs that swing and his lower back to be nice and loose. And it's not, you're not lying. It will help all of these things.
Yes.
And be personable when people come to your class. You sit there and say, what's hurting on people today? I've got your forms. I know, what your long-term issues are, but what's today? Let people feel heard. And do you genuinely want to help someone? Yes. So genuinely ask them how they are. What we need, is there anything we need to add or not do in the class today? Make sure people are always working to their limit. Always be saying, listening to your body, not to me. I'm just the guide, and guides can go wrong because I'm not your body's authority. Yeah. You are. I'm doing what I'm for the whole group. But I will say, those of us that, when I see someone pushing too hard, I will say, and those of us with, for example, I don't know, diastasis recti, we need to not be doing the plank with our feet. Please lower our knees and things like that. It's really important to look after people and make them feel looked up.
So did you develop different offers as your audience grew and you started to build the studio up?
Right, yeah. So my R&R class on a Wednesday, which is rehab, it was called Rehab and Restore. Right. Which is what I needed, turned into, now I'm healthier. And then I did just a yin class on a Thursday as well, Thursday night. And then I got a bit healthy and I was like, right, before yin, I can obviously do something a lot more taxing because I'm going to do yin afterwards. So I tagged a 45-minute core class, which is calling it Core Challenge, which is like a little mini workshop. We work the core and we do something like headstand or grasshopper, or teaching little bits of the mechanics of that after doing quite a lot of core exercises, and then cooling down with some core exercises. But all the core, obviously you need to build to a peak. So you put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
Then you put them all together and let's look, we can do grasshopper-ish. And it's fine. And we can do a headstand-ish. We do a headstand on our back. We lift the knees up to the elbows. And same with Perot, pulling the knees to the elbows, holding them there, things like that on the back. And just working it in pieces upside down and then putting it all together in a core class. And it is tough, but I've got a core of steel. And in my 50s, I can still out. But it attracts a different audience because they're people that are much more active. So I've got my nice active class there on a Thursday. And then I've got I started off because obviously I wasn't particularly well at first and didn't have the most energy I went to, and because I am charitably natured, I went to the community centre church groups and did some chair yoga with the old, would you come and do chair yoga? Yes, I will. No, I'm not going to do it every week for no money because one, I protect my energy. Two, it devalues yoga for everybody else because I'm not the only yoga teacher in the world. Number three, I need to eat and I need self-respect. All of us need to feel valued. And when you are charging less than your worth, you don't feel valued and it does affect you. Okay. It does affect your.
And there's another key message, guys. For those of you who are listening, there is another key message that you will have heard from me in other previous podcasts and so on. But that is absolutely true. One of the things I talk about is that I know a lot of yoga teachers that offer free trials. I do not offer a free trial.
No, nor do I. You will get clients that will give you a big headache because they expect you to work for free. And because they expect you to work for free, when they do come to pay you, it's going to be begrudgingly. And they're going to have many excuses. They're going to complain a lot. These are not your people. You did not go to yoga to help those people. People have to be willing participants in their own rescue. You cannot rescue people that don't want to be rescued. When people say to me, it's £12 for a yoga lesson, that's a lot. And then you see them out at the pub with one and a cup of thing. And you're like, and they get up and they're like, I can't get up and my back hurts. And they value their taste buds over their health. And they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to do that.
Yes. But you don't necessarily want them in your class.
And you don't want them in your class because one, they'll moan about the price. And before you know it, the person next to them's going, is that a lot then? And it's catching. And negativity is extremely catching. So keep the negative Nancy's away.
Let's pull that together as another key lesson, key nugget for people who are listening to take away. Not everyone is meant to be your student.
No.
Just learn to say no. Learn to let go the moaners because then they're not your people. They're not your tribe. They're not the ones that are going to appreciate what you do.
And you don't have to say no. You can give them a card to another yoga teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a really good way of doing it.
And if somebody's coming to me, they get a discount off the drop-in rate for one session, but they pay. Because I couldn't agree with you more. And I do hope that anyone who's listening takes that message on board. It undermines the value for all yoga teachers. It makes it more difficult. It also makes the service that you offer into a commodity. And once something becomes a commodity, it literally is based on price. It's not based on who you are, what you're offering, the value that you're offering. And the fact that, and I'm sure that those who are listening to this can clearly see that the people who come to Serena will love Serena. I bet you've got students who've been with you for years.
Yes.
Could they go to another yoga teacher? Yes, they could. But would they choose to come to Serena? Not just because maybe the location is okay. And yes, location is always going to be, there's going to be an element of convenience and whether your classes are at the right time for certain students. But generally speaking, students come not just for the yoga, but they end up coming for you.
And what differentiates people. That's
absolutely.
Really important, is that I can offer exactly the same class as somebody else. There's two yin classes. Just because there's two yin classes in the area doesn't mean there isn't room for a third. One, because first of all, times and dates, different people can do different times and dates. But secondly, because I'm not them and they're not me. Some people will prefer to come to me because they're more science-based.
In terms of having to deal with fibromyalgia and all the rest of it, which brings an extra richness and sort of intensity to what you offer and different slant to what you offer than the teacher down the road that's maybe just done a couple of weeks extra tuition CPD course on yin or something.
Yeah, however, that might, if it's convenient for someone and it gets them to yoga, I'd rather
Yeah.
them do that than nothing.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
important to do yoga. And for
Absolutely.
those of you that are listening that have only done a couple of weeks extra CPD, don't let that put you off, because if you really want to do it and you keep watching videos, go to other people's classes, learn, you can give a beautiful lesson to someone. And if you really want to help them, don't just leave it there with that CPD. Go online, do some research, look at what really helps. You don't need a course to teach you. You can teach yourself. There are books, there is ChatGPT and AI that will give you the answer to just about anything if you ask it. Be curious. Be curious. Ask it. Oh, what would happen is what would this position really help with? And really get to know your trade, because I am now very confident that when someone comes to me, for example, I have a lady that comes with a colostomy bag, and I was like, okay, but I researched it. I'm now very confident with what she can and she cannot do. And I'm not going to exclude her just because she's a little different. Okay. It's not fair. She's actually very capable. And I know people have said, oh, I'm pregnant, so I can't come to your class. Now, I did do a prenatal CPD, but also it's not actually much different from dealing with someone that has osteoporosis. In fact, it's really similar. Watch out for the front bends,
The forward bends.
twist. Yeah, and no deep twist. It's really not that hard. They make it sound a lot more, and I'll tell you why they make it sound a lot more difficult than it is.
So
Because
they can
you're buying a course.
Yes.
You're buying their course.
Absolutely.
So they want it to.
And there's another wonderful lesson. So guys, you're listening, right? There's another podcast where I talk about, are you a learning junkie?
Oh, I love
Because
learning.
sometimes the number of times that I will hear yoga teachers talk about, I need to go on another course.
Learn whilst you're doing it. Do it. Get there and do it. Version 1 is better than version none.
Absolutely.
If you don't start now, when are you going to?
Woman after my own heart.
Get in there, do it. Now, if you are not sure, you have to be honest that you don't know. If someone's, can I do this? Honestly, I don't know. Let me look it up. And look it up. Do you know what? Now with AI, will take you seconds even.
Absolutely.
You can even do it there and then. That person is not going to disrespect that. They will respect you more for the fact that you were honest, that you looked it up, and they will feel heard, they will feel helped, they will feel looked after, and they will never leave you because they know that you're not going to lie to them. They will stay with you through thick and thin and say, I'm staying with this woman because if she doesn't know, she looks it up, she's looking after me. So it's really important to be honest. We don't know everything. No one does. You go to the doctors and ask them, what do? They go on and go, oh, let me look. They look on their little computer. They look in their book.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was a
And
lawyer.
I always remember.
I always looking up statutes and things.
Absolutely.
No one's got an AI brain except for AI.
No, it's true. And I often say all you need to be. There was a phrase that I learned once from one mentor mastermind group that I was in. And one of the guys there said, and this was in the States, they were the Yanks. So he talked about a fourth grader is God to a third grader.
Yeah.
Because in the States, they call them fourth grade, third grades, and so on. But that only have to be one step ahead.
Yeah.
And even if you're not one step ahead, you just say, do you know what? Like you said, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out. And I will frequently say, I'm not a GP. If you if you have concerns, if it's something that's been going on for a while, I suggest you ask a GP. Tell them what you're doing. Go to a healthcare professional, a physio or someone like that, and just say, I'm doing yoga. Am I okay to do it? Because generally speaking, I find that most physios, unless you've just had a hip replacement or something, in which case you're not going to do a rotation, external rotation of the hips, obviously. Certain things that are fairly obvious, aren't there? But most physios, and I've had physios come and give talks in my retreat days, will actually say the worst thing you can do is nothing. Most people hold back when they've been injured or whatever, but there might be an acute phase where there might be a couple of things that they say, steer clear of doing that movement for a couple of weeks, but then get back on the bike and do it again. So I hope that those of you who are listening are taking a lot away from this in terms of your confidence and your ability to understand that you don't have to be that far ahead. But as Serena's saying, it's the consistency, it's the willingness the desire to just help. And as long as that's at the back of your mind, I don't think you can fail.
And I have a whole load of cards I've got a whole load of cards in my studio of osteopaths and things, so that if there is a problem, I say, go to the
Yes.
doctor or give this
Yeah.
osteopath a call,
Yeah.
because you're not an osteopath, you're not a chiropractor, you're not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
although I wouldn't recommend what I've read about sorry if anybody's a chiropractor here, but I don't recommend chiropractors.
Yeah, me too.
I recommend
And I
osteopaths,
apologize also.
physiotherapists,
Yeah.
and
Physiotherapists,
doctors.
Physiotherapists
Yeah.
always, but
God, I
chiropractors.
love a physiotherapist. I did the initial physiotherapy course, like a starting one for physiotherapy. And I met other physiotherapists and I know quite a few physiotherapists, just have that sort of background. And a lot of them are very disillusioned with it all, because they're given their client a couple of exercises to do and their client doesn't do it. And then they become yoga instructors, because physiotherapy moves and yoga moves have a lot in common.
They sure do.
Yoga has been around thousands of years. Any move you can possibly think of has been thought of, and it's there in yoga.
Yes.
So you can't move your body without yoga having already dipped it. Okay.
Yeah.
So when they do these physiotherapy moves, it's so akin to yoga, it's unbelievable. But with yoga, the person is actually doing it every week and they actually see improvement. Whereas with physiotherapy, they get given an exercise, and people go to physiotherapy expecting the physiotherapist to magically fix them. Whereas with yoga, people understand that they're going to a yoga lesson and then they get fixed magically. They're like, I wasn't expecting, I can touch well, look at this. I can tie my own shoelaces up now, and I can do this, and I can turn in the car without aching. And I went up the stairs the other day and I didn't even feel it. And you're like, oh, wow, you get these wonderful. And with physiotherapy, it's the other way round. I went to a physiotherapist and I still can't do up my laces. I went to a physiotherapy and I still can't get up the stairs, because and it's the absolute opposite. They're expecting magic and they get nothing. They're disappointed. But with a yoga teacher, they're not really expecting but they get it because it is physiotherapy. Thousands of years old physiotherapy that's written up in a 4-letter word called yoga. And and it's so much more satisfying to be a yoga instructor than it is to be a physio.
So let's bring it to, when did you start so you've got the studio, we can see how your trajectory is your path has followed you.
I've got a class, and then I'm like, so then I added a couple more classes.
And when did you start adding retreats?
So I did a retreat last July, and that was my first one.
Was that your first one?
Yes. And it went so well. It was absolutely beautiful. And bear in mind, so I was a teacher for a very long time. So I've done taking a lot of children away on camping trips or on residentials. So there is that experience. It wasn't like I just jumped in. And I had been on a couple of retreats, and I had been asked to facilitate a retreat.
So you've had some experience. Would you recommend, in terms of advice for people listening, would you recommend going into retreats quite quickly when you start teaching, or give it time?
I would say that was everybody's an individual. If you have the confidence to do it, just do it. Because it's
particularly, I guess, if you've got some experience like you, if you've had some kind of experience of organising events and so on beforehand.
You've been an event and teacher, you've got this.
Yeah. I mean, because one of the things, I must admit, Serena, one of the things that I tend to say when thinking about the two engines is that if you're starting from scratch and you haven't really built up a sort of cohort of regular students and sustainable income, you can start offering maybe half-day workshops or something quite quickly as part of what I would call engine one.
Let me just, so I've been offering an evening retreat for a long time. I do it every month.
Yeah.
So I do this whole evening on a Friday night, once a month, from after work till late at night. And we do from sound bowls, yin yoga, Indian hand massage, breath work, yoga nidra.
Yeah. So when you started workshops, did you run workshops to do with the fibromyalgia then, when you first started?
No, I was well enough. I was marketing to anyone that felt stressed or burnt out. So it was anybody feeling tired, burnout, chronic pain conditions, because that's what deep relaxation will do and breath work will do. It will help with those. It's irrefutable. The studies that are done, irrefutable. You look on the NHS websites and they'll give you 4-6 breathing or coherent breathing exercises because they are the most effective. And the reason coherent breathing is most effective, which a lot of people don't realize, or that 4-6, is because coherent breathing, 5-5, is 10 seconds. 4-6, 10 seconds. 4-6, the long exhale, slow the heart rate and tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. But that 10 seconds, it absolutely coincides with the blood pressure. They're called baroreceptors in your jugular and in your aorta and your heart and your jugular, which govern your blood pressure. So when you've got these two working in exact, you're taking the pressure off because they're already working in exact sort of timely motion. It becomes smooth and easy.
Yes.
And the blood pressure lowers. So it's got a lot of science backing on that. So 5-5, 4-6, those long exhalations, 4-6, or that coherent 5-5 breathing to get that 5-6 breaths per minute is your sweet spot for lowering blood pressure. And it works. I had a private lesson yesterday with a gentleman. You know how sometimes gentlemen do not want
So is that another thing in terms of offering? Is that another thing that you offer, the private one-to-one sessions too?
Not often, but sometimes.
Do you advertise, do you promote those on your website?
No, but I am asked. And this man has got particularly high blood pressure and I know I can help him.
And I think one of the things that, again, it comes back to, and we'll start trying to pull this together, and we must spend a bit of time just telling them about about your retreat and your book and stuff too. But one of the things I want the listeners to take away from this is stand in your own value. Believe that you have value to offer, because I think too many yoga teachers are too supplicant to, there's another yoga teacher down the road and it's only £5 a class or whatever. If that's how they want to run their business, let them do that, but stand in your own value and understand what you bring, because otherwise it's just too easy to end up becoming this commodity. And if the minute you start turning it into something that's just based on price rather than value and what you're actually offering to these people, you're on a hiding to nothing. You're going nowhere. You'll never build a business that way, ever.
You don't sell the lesson, you sell the outcome.
Yes.
So tell people when they're coming to yoga, they're not buying an hour's lesson.
One quickie, just talking about that, how did you just naturally find it easy to slip into different copy for different, when you were talking earlier about the golfers or the back pain or the who you're trying to attract? And that's another key thing that I'd like people who are listening to take away, because sometimes I'll get teachers that say to me, they understand niching, they understand how powerful it can be, although sometimes, again, it's another negative thing in their brain where they're thinking, but if I turn somebody away, am I reducing what I could potentially earn? My answer to that is definitely no, you are not. Okay? You're actually positioning yourself so you attract somebody who hears the right message.
Yeah.
But I think, but it doesn't mean that you can't have more than one niche, and you clearly have. You've moved from the yin and the focus on...
I started with children.
Yeah, with
I
children.
taught school for 20 years.
So it's not that
around
you
the
can't,
nurseries.
but the key things that you're hearing here from Serena is that the message with each of them has attracted a different group of people, a different type of client. The ones that come to your core class and where you're doing the balances, the arm balances, that's like the equivalent of my level 2 students who've been with me for years and actually relish the challenge of still challenging their bodies at 50, 55, 60, 65 and so on. But not everybody's ready for that stage.
No. And
but,
it attracts the healthy people, which is what it's
I think this is part of this is to do with also the fact that trying to do it, my usual tips are to say, start with, and that's what when we listen to your story, that's in a way what you've done. You've started with one thing, with children. you've had an experience of fibromyalgia, you've started learning about that and then drawn on your yoga and brought people in to do with that. It's expanded then to do retreats and workshops, to writing, to bringing things in with your breath work and so on. So you can see from Serena's journey that you've not done it all at once. You've built,
I got
haven't
good at
you?
one thing,
Yes.
and I kept studying it, and then I got interested in something else, which opened the door.
And you've had that reticular
to something
activating
else.
system open, your antennae up, you've looked for opportunities that have followed your interest. That's another key thing. Those opportunities are the things that have followed your interest. That's exactly what the reticular activating system does. It tells your brain, I'm interested in this, so let's look at what the opportunities might be.
What is the point of doing this
what
if you're
you've
not
done.
interested in it? If you don't love
Yeah.
what is the point in doing it?
Absolutely. And again, another key nugget I want anybody who's listening to take away. Say that again, Serena.
What is the point of
You
doing
said,
it if you don't
yeah.
enjoy it?
Yeah.
You do.
You don't, or
You might as well
even
go
if
and
you-
get a desk job.
or,
We
no,
do
or
this.
even if you don't necessarily believe in it. So, for example, another key thing that I'll say here, particularly if there's anybody who's been following my work and podcasts for a while will know this anyway. But if you're new, I do not, and I know I am acutely conscious that there are some what I call purist yoga teachers out there who will look down on me or judge me negatively because I do not teach the chakras. I do not teach, I'm not interested in Sanskrit or pushing the philosophies. I'm interested in more secular things to do with mindfulness and so on. Why? Because it doesn't interest me. I'm more science-based like you, Serena. I'm more science-based and I'm interested in things that you can see that there's quite a bit of study and research behind too. I'm interested in looking at all sorts of different tools, and yoga to me is just another tool like breathwork, mindfulness, and so on. It's another tool that we can stick in our toolbox, and our students can put in their toolbox as well. So I hope that those of you who are listening can see that this all comes back to be you. Teach yoga how you want to teach it with your interests and your passions. Start with one thing, develop it from there, build on it like Serena's done with the workshops. And tell us about the workshop you've got coming up in July, Serena, because when you were telling me about that when we were meeting beforehand, it sounds absolutely fabulous.
It's a 3-day retreat. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So my husband is a Muay Thai fighting machine. Yes, girls, he's mine. And he instructs here Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock. He has a very small group, which he teaches really quite high level technique to. And they go every Wednesday and they go often to Hereford, which is an hour away, and where they have big boxing rings and they do the sparring down there on Wednesday. So they learn their technique here with him and then he takes them off down there to do their sparring practice. Now, he is a self-defense Muay Thai expert. He's just the most adorable man you've ever met. He is a school teacher as well. That's his day job, and he is adored by all of his students. Now, we are holding a warrior weekend, 24, 25, 26th of July together. And this is going to encompass NLP, so neuro-linguistic programming, where I will be giving, before we even attend, a private one-to-one session via the internet, where I can help with limiting beliefs and get to know you, give you a session before we even arrive. So that when we arrive, we can do grounding and anchoring techniques to help you feel safe, to help you feel powerful. We're going to do yoga. We're going to do all sorts of activities that are designed to bring you up to a place where you do something you don't realize you could do. So we'll be doing self-defense lessons. We'll be doing some aerial yoga. There's the retreat in Carmarthenshire. There's a yoga studio with silks, which when I was in India, it's a 7-day training. If anybody wants to do one, it's amazing. It's so much fun. So, but do take seasickness tablets before you do a whole day of it, because you're going upside down all the time. That's one big tip. But we'll be doing some aerial skills and some acro yoga and things in pairs, things that we can really challenge ourselves to show that we can do scary things. We can do things we didn't realize we could do. we're going to be doing really calming, nervous-centered things. For example, floating nidras in the hammock, floating nidras, sound bowls, cacao ceremony with a static dance, so free-flowing, a lot of fun. We're going to have, last year we did cheerleading for just and some Greek dancing. And this year we're going to maybe do some line dancing just for a fun bonding activity. And there's a hike to the local castle with some outdoor yoga and just some journaling. I was an English teacher, remember? So some journaling techniques and how we can journal, which is amazingly powerful for your nervous system and also for anybody feeling anxiety. But this is an empowerment weekend. This will leave you feeling strong and capable to take on the world. So if you are feeling as though you, and yoga instructors are extremely welcome. If you are feeling like you need that boost of strength, you can do anything, and just some help finding that inner power, inner warrior that we all have, our little Amazonians, they're all in there, whilst nurturing your nervous system and also knowing that you do not have to participate in anything. It's all choice made. And that there is a room for silence. We have a silent living room with couches and a fire where you can take a book and it's a no speaking zone.
Just
You can
read.
go, you can go and sit right up next to somebody and they know you're not going to talk. They can read their book. It's very powerful to know that you are not going to be disturbed, because we all those rooms where people come and sit and we're trying to read our book or we're trying to have a bit of alone time or quiet time.
And people are just trying to be polite, but actually you just wish they'd,
Yeah. And we also have a living room, of course, where you can chat and meet your like-minded people. There's a sauna. Obviously, I've worked with Wim Hof, and Stig. So the cold plunge, so I can guide you through the cold plunge. And if you want to do it, you are not under any obligation to do cold plunging. But it is July, so it won't be that cold. And we've got the hot tub. So and it's in the most beautiful area in Wales, in the southwest, Carmarthenshire. It's a beautiful place. You don't need a penny once you're there. I've got 2 more spaces at just 547 because and then it goes up to 597 for the next 5 places. So it's extremely cheap. It's worth, when you put it into Google AI, it says that I should be charging over £1,000 for it. But I'm charging less because I will be expecting in return for that massive reduction, a video testimonial, just 2 minutes of your time. It's me, my phone, and a testimonial. So that for future.
Future.
So
this is your second retreat that you've run.
It's the 4th that I've run, but it's my second one,
Yes. So this is, again, another kind of, what you can see here is somebody building. You built gradually up to doing this and then offering this retreat. It's
definitely not free, but it's also definitely not priced as it should be, so that I can get people to come along and get your testimonials and your good words, because it will be wonderful. I did it with just my students last year and they thought it was absolutely brilliant, but I wasn't as savvy and I didn't get the video testimonials. I didn't get I've learned my lesson. I'm going to do that this year. And you can learn how to, if you want to ask or help or ask me any questions while you're there about running your own retreats, then I am available for that. So it's a good opportunity.
That's wonderful to know as well. So guys, if you're listening, I'm going to put Serena I think I've got the link, but I'll double check and make sure that I've got the proper link. The link will be in the show notes and in the email that I send out to everybody. So if anybody's interested, what are the dates again? 24th, 25th and 26th?
25th, 26th of July, 2026. And if you look at serenityknighton.co.uk, Knighton is in the Knights of the Round Table, KNIGHTON. serenityknighton.com or .co.uk. Got both of them. That's another tip. Get both of them and then people will find it.
Okay. So to wrap the whole thing up, can I ask you, if you were, and this is the question that I often ask anybody, and I find some of the gurus that I listen to online that have been successful will often talk about. And the question is, what would the you today tell the you 10 years ago that would help manage the journey?
I think if there's One thing I'd want people to really take away from this, including myself 10 years ago, is that you don't have to keep pushing through to create a good life. So many of us have been taught that more effort, more discipline, more doing is the answer, but often it's the opposite. When you start working with your body, with your nervous system, everything begins to change. You make better decisions, you have more energy, you're clearer and calmer, and life starts to feel a lot less like something you're constantly trying to keep up with. And from a teaching or a business perspective, you don't need to have everything figured out. Start with what you know, what you've lived, and what's helped you, and trust that's enough to begin with, because that's where the real connection comes from, and that's what actually builds something new.
Lovely. I think what I'm actually going to do is replay that myself or send it over. If you've written that down, send it over to me, Serena, because I'm going to put that as part of the show notes as well. And I think that's a lovely way of summing it up. And it sums up so much of the philosophy that I try to share with yoga teachers who are starting out. So thank you. All it just remains for me to say, thank you so much for sharing so much of your story. Anybody who's listening, you can tell why I call her a powerhouse, can't you?
One last thing, if anyone's in Hay on Wye for the festival this year, please come and see me speak about my books on the 28th of May at 2:00. Yeah, I'll be at the Hay Festival.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right. Put that when you and I speak afterwards. You'll have to give me, email those details to me as well, and I'll make sure that goes out in the email
There'll
too.
be signed copies of my book there. And if you don't know more
Wonderful,
about it,
wonderful, wonderful. And can you see, guys, what this lady does? She just learns and then puts it out there, gets herself out there,
do something
makes
with
things
it.
happen. Yeah.
Don't let it die with you.
No,
It's valuable.
absolutely
What
not.
you have is so valuable.
Yeah,
And you must share it. That's your duty as the yoga
Yeah.
teacher, is
Yeah.
to share what you know.
yeah,
Just share that passion and let it be catching. Let it ignite other people so that they too can live long, healthy lives.
yeah. Couldn't agree more. And on that note, guys, thank you very much.